The thing that I think is most important is, in an age of social media, and it's not like running ads is a new thing. Everyone's running ads, from big companies to mom and pop shops, but it's disruptive, and it's relying on producing content that costs money or time, getting the content out there, getting the person's attention, keeping their attention for 30 to 60 seconds, maybe getting them to a website, and then getting them to convert. And it's a lot of steps. The difference with podcasts is a podcast has already built up a designated listenership that is volunteering to listen. And it's not volunteering to listen for 60 seconds. They're volunteering to listen for 25 to 45 or 60 minutes. And so when you think about how much people are spending to try and get someone's attention in 60 seconds, and they could just go and be on a podcast for free, just by pitching themselves, it's silly to think that there are people not doing it. And, it's not just that there's that time, but they get to give away information. People get to hear the backstory. They get to know their personality. They get to hear a joke. Even if they're just listening, you can hear a smile when you can hear someone smiling when they're talking, when they're excited about something. And all of that translates into building rapport and trust with the listener that they've never talked to. And so then if at the end of the interview, the person actually needs that person's service, they might reach out, and to the guest, it's a cold lead. It's someone that they haven't talked to, but they're like extremely hot lead. It's not cold at all, even though they've never talked to them, because they just got warmed up for 60 minutes on this podcast. And then lastly, because podcasts are usually centered around giving information and giving to the people listening, it's a no pitch scenario. So, if you take a financial planner or a CPA, for example, not everyone really wants to talk to them about their job, especially if they're being charged $500 an hour for it. But if one of them can come on and tell someone how they can plan for their future better or save on their taxes for free, they're going to listen. And then they might be converted over time because they got to know this person, they trust them, and realize that they could use their service. A lot of it has to do with your pitch, as well as how many people you reach out to. So the number of shows you reach out to, that's pretty obvious. If you can reach out to 100 shows, you'll probably get 5 to 10 podcasts by yourself just fine. Maybe you'll get more, depending on how experienced you are in your space. But let's focus on the pitch for a second. So off the bat, I really like to first started off with podcast submission, so-and-so, their expertise. Now I'm like, they're probably, maybe a podcast host gets a ton of those. And as soon as they see podcast submission, they stop reading. So I started thinking, I need to be more engaging in the subject. I need to tell them why the person matters, before I tell them their name doesn't matter. Their name doesn't matter until they know why the person matters. Also, just a little marketing tip. If you can work an emoji into the subject, it catches eyes way better. It doesn't matter what it is. Just add an emoji. Try and make it relevant. Put it somewhere that makes sense, but it will catch the eye better, especially on a phone where a lot of people are reading their emails. If you can, work in the biggest statistic you have. So for example, one of my real estate guys he's done 2.5 billion in transactions and has 5,000 units in his portfolio. If you can work those numbers into your subject, you're going to get a lot of people opening that, as long as, assuming you're reaching out to industry specific podcasts. Maybe to your point, secrets of how to reach financial independence in your early 20s. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit corny. Maybe it's not. You can work through it a little bit. If I'm not feeling good about what I just wrote, I usually wait on it a day, come back, and stuff like that. Again, I won't say I'm a marketing expert. There are probably people that have a lot better experience than I have, but through my experience with music, I used to reach out to sponsors and booking agents and so these people that I could not provide any value to, but I always got them to respond. and open my email. And that was something I got really good at. It kind of just came naturally to me without really having marketing expertise. I also do a lot of outreach through email. And the way that I am able to get a lot of emails is through podcastwise.com. And it's a database that I think that there might be a free option. I'm not sure. I know that there's like $100 a month option where you have some limit on how many lists you can make, but you can add literally hundreds of shows to your list and then export it. And when you export it, it'll have the description, the show name, the email. I think the email is just based off of the RSS feed. I don't know where it actually pulls the email from. So it might be an old email, but it has a link to the show, their website. At one point, I think it even had the social media links, but I haven't seen that as much recently. I don't know if that's updated, but that's how I go and get literally 150 shows to do a mass outreach for someone that maybe I'm booking 50 shows for. And so you can go in and make other lists. I think the most expensive product is I pay $200 a month and I can have as many lists as I want. So that could be a parenting list. That could be a finance list. That could be a stocks list. That could be a VC list. That could be, agricultural list. I don't know. But you can then also refine the searches of those shows based on how many episodes they've put out, how many 5-star reviews they have. I think you can do average review number. And so, if you're just trying to make sure that you're not on a brand new show, you set it needs to have 25 episodes, or it needs to have 25 5-star reviews. And then I'll take that daunting number of 300 page results down to, maybe 20. And then you can go through, I just scan, the description is right there, right on the page. I scan it. If it looks like it has what I want, I add it to my list, and it's just an easy click of a button. You can also just find a show and click the email button. There's only 2 buttons when you see the show. It's add it to a list or get the email right away. It just copies it. And so, that's a great way to build out a massive list. There are other platforms out there. I know Listen Notes is one that a lot of people like. I'm sure there's more, but I've just found that I get done what I need through PodcastWise. And so then let's just say, you send out an email to a show you really want it and it bounces. The more you can speak to, the better. But like, if you're new in business, or if even like 2 conversions get you what you need for the month, just expense wise, cover your expenses, then I don't care if the podcast has 20 people, just have a 10% conversion rate, but being authentic, and you'll be fine. But, this is where it's also important to, I said I'm not going to cover the SEO part, but like, this is where SEO can be important. If the show is called Financial Planner Podcast and you're a financial planner, I don't care if it has 0 reviews, do that podcast. Because for SEO purposes, you were on the show called the Financial Planner Podcast. It can't sound any more expert and legitimate than that.
Yeah.
But yes, so smaller numbers are still fine if you're providing valuable content. I remember this is a music story from my mentor. He was at a bar one time in New York City, and he was on tour with a band called Juliana Theory, who was known in the punk realm, but he happened to meet up with Joey Ramone and Bon Iver, which are, some of you may not know them, but they're pretty well known in their areas of music. And they walked into a bar where a guy was playing acoustic, and they were the only 4 people in the room. But it's like important that guy played as good as if it was a sold out show, because the only 4 people that were there were massive names in the music industry. And obviously, I'm not saying that that's going to happen on every podcast, but the thing is, every listener that's volunteering to listen to you for 45 to 65 minutes or 60 minutes is a potential client that is now getting to know you, and you're building the rapport. And if you're on the show, it means there's some chance that what you have to say is relevant to them. And also just in general, if you don't know, people that listen to podcasts are more likely to be engaging on social media. They're college educated. They usually have higher than average salaries, so they have the disposable income. Those are just basic statistics that if you're on a podcast because you have a service, like you're already in the right place. You're hedging your bets the best you can in just about every way with podcasts. Whatever your social media accounts of choice are, whether it be LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, you better be sharing it. It did nothing for you if in the event that you did just talk on this podcast and maybe you didn't get any leads out of it, well, you better be sharing it to your network where you probably have potential leads that didn't convert, but maybe started keeping an eye on you. If they see that you're getting invited on the podcast, building your reputation, building your authority, that's great. I also like to think it's great for reaffirming your clients already. Now they know they made the right choice because you're the guy that's getting invited, or gal, sorry, guy or gal that's getting invited to be an expert on these shows. So it's great for email lists. But for anybody that wants to be creating content, the host just did it for you. Yeah. You didn't have to pay for it. You didn't have to hire a videographer. You didn't have to sit down and script it out. It's just, they just create it for you. And I don't know, I've never had a host deny me the Zoom file for the video. So you can go and repurpose it if you want. A lot of hosts are not creating social media graphics. They are not creating the 60-second blurbs, but you can go do that. And you can hire a VA to do it really, really cheaply too, if you can get the file from the host. If you tell the host that you want the file so that you can promote it, they're going to give it to you. If you grow the show, then 3 years down the road, people are still listening to your interview because they go back and listen to older episodes. I mean, I'm not saying your review is going to affect the size of the show in 3 years, but just get into a habit. And also hosts will bring you back. If they've had 20 interviews and not a single person gave them a 5-star review and you do, they're going to really appreciate that. And it's also, remember, these hosts are your potential referrals. If you're on the show, it means that you're in a similar industry. They're going to remember the person that was nice and promoted their show. Pablo, you created a banner image on LinkedIn. I have not had a banner image for the 10 years I've had LinkedIn, or however long I've had it, but you made that for me. So I made it my banner image because you put in that effort and I appreciated that. So that's, you just want to reciprocate it. They're going to benefit it for some reason. That's why you were able to get on for free, but still give something back to them. It takes you 2 minutes. I think that every podcast on their Calendly link should have a checkbox that says, I agree to, leave a 5-star review and ask two of my friends to do it as well. It can be an assistant, an employee, a family member. 2 is not very much. And they might click the box and never do it, but you bet you're going to get 3 from someone.